So a few weeks ago, I was by my house on the street recording another video, the 60-day transformation video, when suddenly a car pulls over. The driver rolls down the window and he asks, "Yo, you a filmmaker?" Turns out the reason he was asking is because he's a filmmaker and is looking for people to work with. We really didn't even talk about sprinting. We had a brief conversation, exchanged contact info, and that was it. Fast forward a few weeks later and he hits me up out the blue. And that's when everything begins. As we're texting, he tells me he's running for a charity event and has to start training for the 100, 200, and 400 meters, all of which will be taking place in the same day. Craziest part is the event was 10 days away. Long story short, I told him I'm in and we began training the very next day. I wasn't planning on running in the event, but I was down to help with training in any way I could, timing, recording slow-mo footage to analyze, and testing out different drills. Since I've never been on the team or anything, I was excited but nervous. Up to this point, I have no idea what his training or fitness level is at. I don't know if he just runs for fun on the weekend or if he's a former track star. I talked about this in my last video. On day one, I get there early, which gives me about 30 minutes to warm up before he gets there. This ended up helping me out a lot because we end up off the bat in a 400-meter sprint. Really, I thought we were gonna go for a light run, but when we get into it, I see he's gunning it, he's taking off, so I quickly switched gears and picked up the speed. Remember, I said up to this point, I had no idea what his background or fitness level was at. Apparently, Fitz grew up in Jamaica, and when he was 17, he was running at an international level, specializing in the 400 meters. I found this all out on the first day of training, shortly after running that 400-meter sprint. This was a Friday, and we agreed to meet again on Sunday. Sunday, and there's a huge tropical storm to the point where we aren't even able to train. The next time we ended up training, I wasn't the first one to arrive, so I rushed my warm-up to get started, which was not a good idea. We started doing 200-meter sprints, and I started feeling my quad cramping up. Eventually, that cramp began to feel more like a strain. Either way, I wasn't too worried because I wasn't planning on running in any of the events myself. We agreed on day 6 to meet in Brooklyn at Prospect Park because he was gonna meet his teammates. What I understood was that there was gonna be 4 teams: a red team, a blue team, a green team, and yellow team. Fitz was on the red team. Each team was gonna face off in multiple events, including a dance competition, potato sack race, and several track events. Each event would have a certain amount of points, and the team with the most points would win and decide which charity the money goes to. Well, the meeting time was around 7, people coming after work, so it got dark pretty fast. This is 4 days away from the competition, and here we were in Brooklyn with all the track athletes from the red team in the dark with no track. I guess the captain of the red team figured it was worth getting in some training so they could coordinate who was running what races, because that wasn't even set in stone yet. So they decided to run a 100-meter in the middle of the park, in the dark with no real warm-up, cars and pedestrians everywhere. This went against everything I know about training, sprinting, and overall safety. These guys also like experienced track athletes. They're short on time and the competition is right around the corner. I thought, okay, maybe there's something they know that I don't, and maybe nothing bad will happen. On the very first run, one of the guys pulled their hamstring right off the start. So now we have another obstacle.
I personally don't mind to run with that. So well, no, I think that's a little bit dangerous. I don't want nobody hurt himself right now.
When this happened, Fitz stepped in and called off the training, told the athletes, let's meet later in the week, and him and I already planned on meeting the very next day to train. On our very next training session, with just 3 days before the event, we faced another problem which I figured would catch up to us eventually. We were running close to max effort on every sprint session and our body was feeling the effects. My quad was already not in good shape, and Fitz also began experiencing some issues too. Another problem was that the team was low on runners and would potentially need 1 to 2 extra guys. Also, there was no confirmation yet on whether or not the guy who pulled his hamstring the day before was all right. Despite all these obstacles, we finally began to catch a break. Meet Chris. He was at the track and we saw he was putting in work, so Fitz approached him and asked him to join the team. He said yes. Turns out he runs for the NYU track team, was preparing for a decathlon, and specializes in the 200 meters. Him and Fitz ran a 200 sprint that same day, and right away I saw that this guy was fast. We wrapped up that session, a bit concerned about our cramping, but optimistic because there was a new addition to the team. Not even 15 minutes after leaving the track, I get a phone call from him. I was driving, so I let him know I'll call him back later when I get to the house. I won't go into details, but when I call him, he tells me, look, the captain of the red team and I didn't see eye to eye no more, and I'm no longer on the red team. I spoke to the guys from the green team. I'm on their team now. We're training tomorrow. I was like, what? I told them, look, I'm training with you. Wherever you go, I'm gonna go. Let me know and I'll come to the training. The next day, we didn't speak. This was on Thursday, 2 days away from the event. Originally, this was when the red team was supposed to meet and train. Honestly speaking, on one hand, I was relieved that we weren't training that day because I knew I had to rest my quad and recover. On the other hand, I was a bit worried because I'm not sure what's going on anymore, and I was really looking forward to seeing this event. So on Friday, the day before the event, I get a text from him, and apparently now he's a captain of the red team. I didn't ask too many questions about the politics. I'm there to train, film, and see the events. At least that's what I thought, because in the same text, he asked me if I'm able to participate in some of the events. We discussed this briefly before, mostly as a joke, and this time I could tell that it was very likely I was gonna run too, which I was nervous about, but more than happy to do. Here's the next problem. There was another tropical storm, and the forecast predicted that there was gonna be heavy rain the day of the event. There was a chance that the entire event was gonna be canceled. When I went to sleep that night, I had 4 questions. 1, who's on the red team? 2, what level are the other athletes at? 3, am I gonna have to run in this event? And 4, is the event gonna even happen? And if I'm being really transparent, I was worried that I was gonna have to drive across Brooklyn, get caught in the rain, and have to drive back in a thunderstorm. The morning of the event, I wake up, look out the window, and I see nothing but clouds. But I check my phone, and Fitz tells me the event is on. We show up, and apparently the whole track team dropped out, along with the previous captain. I look across the field, and I see all the other teams have an army of people. I'm talking 30, 50 heads for every other team. Meanwhile, we got maximum 10. So it looks like I got a number and I'm gonna be running in the event. On the bright side, Chris, who we met at the track earlier that week, fulfilled his promise and showed up to the event. Also, there was a few more red team members who did show up later, completely new guys that I haven't met before. Speaking of new guys, if you're watching this and aren't subscribed, I'm not gonna go into every single event because there were a lot of them. In total, there were about 10 races, including the semifinals and finals. The first race was a 400 meters. Chris ran this one. He got shoved, but still finished strong with 2nd place.
They pushed him.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, I saw it.
Oh, you fell?
I think him and this guy from the green team, who seemed to be their best sprinter, had some sort of rivalry brewing at this point. Then came the 200 meters.
Hello, green team, step back, please.
He's coming out strong. He got this.
Here, Chris showed everyone that he didn't come to play and took 1st place in the finals. So we got off to a good start early on. Combined with the events prior to the track races, I believe in terms of points, we were in the lead. We had a secret weapon who was dominating the female events and had won both of the races she participated in so far.
That was a lot of work.
That was a lot of work. That was exhausting.
You did amazing.
Then came the 100 meters. They had 4 100-meter races back to back. So it was tough to record, and I don't recall every single one perfectly. I do know that Fitz and Chris each won one of these races. And our secret weapon won the 100-meter female race. She ran in 3 events and won all 3 of them. So here's where things start to get real interesting. The relay races were up next, and the officials had announced the points along with the positions of each team. The red team was in the lead, a significant lead. The team was in high spirits, but we knew the job was not done, and the fight for the championship was just heating up. Everything was going so good, so you know something had to happen. Chris was crushing it, but here's where we lost. Originally, I believe he agreed to run 1 race, and he had run several, winning most of them. And prior to the relay races, he had to get going. He put in work for the team, came last minute, so everyone thanked him, and he was on his way. It also began to rain a bit, which fit the mood because we had just lost a key teammate, we're low on runners, and everyone is exhausted. Thankfully, it didn't rain long, and we moved on with the relay races, starting with the 100 relay. This is where I got called into action. I've never run a relay. I don't think my high school even had a track team. Good thing I recently made a video about the USA team dropping the baton, so I knew the theory at least behind a successful baton pass. We practiced the baton pass a total of maybe 5 times. Although my quad still didn't feel great, I wasn't gonna let that be an excuse, and I planned to give it my best anyways. I was in position, and my main priority after watching so many videos of athletes drop the baton was don't drop the baton. Unfortunately, as soon as I reached out, grabbed the baton, and got into my sprint, I immediately could tell that something was not right with my quad. However, I wasn't just gonna stop. I kept it pushing. I get to the curve, stick out the baton to Fitz, and pass it off. I'm thinking, no problem, we're still in this. He's a monster around the curve. I look down at the end. Before long, Fitz is over there passing it off to the last guy, and I kid you not, what happened next, I did not expect at all. Remember how I said it was raining? Well, because of the rain, it was muddy and slippery. So I think you can predict what happened next. As soon as Fitz passes off the baton to the last person, boom, the guy goes straight to the ground. I mean, this guy touched the baton, and I guess he slipped as he was reaching for it, but a split second later, he hit the ground hard. Fortunately, it's during grass, so he was all right, physically at least. All of us are starting to stress out here. We had a strong lead, and it was slipping from our fingers. This was a defining race where we were gonna either secure or lose the championship title. Fitz started off for the team, and he did what he knows best, dominate the 400 meters. He told me that this was a specialty when he ran for Jamaica as a teenager. At this stage, he had ran in way more than 3 races, and it was quite impressive to see how he was able to deliver over and over. Coming off that first lap, the red team was in the lead, and it seemed like we could actually win this thing after all. Now, before I show you what happened next, first, if you're enjoying this video, hit the like button for me. Second, there was part of the track that did not even have defined lines. The reason why I say this is so that we understand what happened next. Yep, the second guy ran into the forest. He had not run any laps yet, so in his defense, it was unclear where the lanes even were. He explained to us what happened and apologized, but we weren't mad at all. He offered to run the 400 meters and genuinely wanted to help.
Everybody, yeah, and I was like, what? And then I saw the lines. I said, damn, he about to touch the bushes over there.
Yeah, we thought he was going home. At the end, we came really close, but ultimately, as you can probably guess by now, we unfortunately did not win. The green team, who to be fair, had been training extensively for this, took first place. It would have been amazing if we did win because we had almost every obstacle against us, from having a short time to train to losing the entire track team the night before. And I think that's the main theme from this video and from this experience. Rather than focusing on the problems, we focus on the solutions. If you want to see more about what I learned training with Fitz, click here. If you want to see what happened when I used sprinting over 60 days to lose fat, click here. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I did making it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.